It is Sunday, May 6, 2018. I'm in front of the Unitarian Church of Montreal. I'm just getting started with my protest.
Why do you write this?
I'm protesting against clergy abuse and other problems with the church.
Yes?
Yeah.
I agree.
Spends time doing this instead of actually doing something useful.
This is useful, actually. Exposing.
I had this conversation with you before, and you are unfounded.
No, you haven't looked for the truth.
In all religions.
Right.
And they perpetuated 99% of the time by men.
Right. And some women.
1%.
I don't know about that, but see, your church has the same problem.
This is not my church.
Well,
I'm just singing here.
Well, this church has this problem then. Got it?
You are the problem.
No.
All in there.
No, it's not. You're denying any clergy abuse in Unitarian Universalism?
I'm not.
Then I'm protesting against it. That's
And what purpose is this? What are
to
you
get them to deal responsibly with it.
What? Oh, and you're doing a fine job because you've been doing this for years, and everybody thinks you're wankers.
That's because they're in total psychological denial of their problems, just like you are. Yeah, they're total hypocrites. Well, we're off to a good start here. I had a gentleman who wanted to know what my protest was about right after I started up the video, and I was starting to explain it to him when this woman confronted me somewhat belligerently, interrupted us anyway. And basically it's the usual story, like total denial, pretending that my protest has no validity or no usefulness, and so on and so forth. Well, her attitude just basically illustrates the incredible psychological denial and willful ignorance that Unitarian Universalists and their sympathizers, because she claims not to be a member of the church. However, she does claim to be in the church choir, so she might even, be receiving some money for her services from the Unitarian Church of Montreal. So it's in her interest to be favorable to the Unitarian Church of Montreal, because it might help to line her wallet a little bit. I don't know if she's paid or not. She might be a volunteer, but I have a feeling she probably. Thank you, sir. A nice thumbs up from the guy with the headphones. Don't know if that'll show up in the video or not. But I get a lot of positive response from the public. As I've said, leaving out Unitarians themselves and Unitarian Universalist sympathizers and sticking with non-Unitarian members of the public, the responses to my protest are overwhelmingly positive and supportive. I get a few negative responses from the non-Unitarian public, but somewhere in the order of 8 or 9 out of 10 responses from the public are positive and supportive. In fact, it's closer to 9 out of 10 than 8 out of 10 as far as I'm concerned. So anyway, this woman, she just illustrates the total denial. Like, she even acknowledges that other religions have their own clergy abuse problems. She blames it mostly on men. She blames it almost like 100% on men, like 99% men and 1% women. Well, that's not entirely true, actually. And one thing is certainly true is that women, even if they're not directly responsible for the clergy abuse themselves, they enable it by protecting the ministers, like this woman's doing. This woman's basically saying, oh, we don't have a problem, there's nothing to do here, we don't have to deal with anything, we're perfect, we're wonderful. No, that's the wrong attitude. and that's it, is by doing that, by refusing to acknowledge that there's any kind of problem that needs to be dealt with, she's enabling clergy abuse, to say nothing of some of the other problems I'm protesting against. So she did a good job of illustrating how she may not be guilty of abuse herself, but she enables abuse by refusing to speak out against it, by just tagging along with the party line that everything's okay, there's nothing that needs fixing, and so on. And it gets much worse than that. This woman is not a member of the Unitarian Church of Montreal, according to her testimony. She's a member of the choir, so she's not even Unitarian. But I can tell you that there are Unitarian Universalist women who, some of them are abusers. There are lesbian sexual predator Unitarian Universalist ministers, for example. There are probably, some heterosexual Unitarian Universalist women who have also, committed various types of actual abuse, sexual or otherwise. Well, let's talk about Reverend Dr. Victoria Weinstein. She's a bit of a spinster, but basically identifies as, a cis white female, as they say. And she is one of the most verbally and psychologically members of any clergy that I've ever come across. She repeatedly verbally and psychologically abuses people. She abuses her power and influence as a Unitarian Universalist minister, and she has also engaged in physical abuse of children. I'm talking to my camera, so just narrating my protest here. So anyhow, so Reverend Weinstein is an abuser, essentially, and she also is an enabler of abuse. She also helps the Unitarian Universalist religious community keep clergy sexual abuse hidden by deleting my comments on their blog that call attention to, pedophilia and rape committed by Unitarian Universalist ministers and so on, by participating in Unitarian Universalist legal bullying, which seeks to intimidate me into deleting blog posts that tell the readily verifiable truth about such despicable crimes as pedophilia and rape committed by Unitarian Universalist ministers. So Reverend Diane Rowlett is one of other Unitarian Universalist women who not only passively condone clergy abuse and clergy sex abuse, indeed quite egregious and even criminal clergy sex abuse within her own religious community by not speaking out about it, by trying to hide it, but she even directly colludes with the Unitarian Universalist Association in legal bullying that seeks to intimidate me into removing blog posts that tell the truth about pedophiles and rapists in the Unitarian Universalist religious community. I'm sorry, I couldn't hear you.
Check all the history. A lot of shit everywhere, man.
You're absolutely right, but there's shit here, so that's why I'm protesting.
Not particularly, but...
Oh, there is, I can assure you. I'm talking about the larger Unitarian Universalist religious community.
Well, then why are you standing in front of this one saying that it's...
Because this is the one I can protest in front of. No, you're wrong. You're wrong. There actually are problems here locally, but no.
And no problems in your life, right?
What?
None, right?
You can come and protest against me if you want. If you have an issue with me, you can come and protest, but I'm protesting serious problems with...
People try to slander others.
I'm not slandering. This is everything's truthful. It's not slander at all. It's totally truthful.
No, it isn't.
Every single...
Fake news.
It's absolutely not. It's absolutely not fake news. You're in total denial of the truth. You should practice the fourth principle calls for a free and responsible search for truth and meaning. I suggest you actually start practicing it instead of...
Studying a lot.
Well, you're burying your head in the sand about clergy abuse in your religious community. So this woman's saying that my protest is, totally invalid, fake news, she's calling it. She's calling it slander. Absolutely not. Every single picket sign, every single chalk slogan is 100% truthful and supported by evidence. Unitarians do, in fact, cover up clergy abuse. All of my chalk slogans today speak about clergy abuse in the general, broader sense. Last month I was concentrating on child sex abuse and child abuse because last month was Child Abuse Prevention Month, so the emphasis was on specifically abuse of children, and more specifically sexual abuse of children by Unitarian Universalist ministers and Unitarian Universalist Sunday school teachers, etc., and the cover-up and denial of sexual abuse of children by the Unitarian Universalist Association and individual Unitarian Universalist churches and individual Unitarian Universalist clergy, etc. But I broadened it back out to clergy abuse in general today. This woman's in complete denial of the truthfulness of my picket signs. She's calling it slander. Well, there's nothing slanderous about saying that A, Unitarian Universalists have a clergy abuse problem, and B, Unitarian Universalists try to cover up and deny their clergy abuse problem. In fact, she just illustrated that. You know, she's denying there's a problem. She's saying I'm slandering them when in fact I'm telling the truth. So she's in total psychological denial. If she'd done any reasonable research, she would have discovered that, well, actually no, Unitarian Universalism has its fair share of clergy abuse, including some criminal clergy abuse, pedophilia and rape and so on. And she would also discover that, you know, it isn't properly handled by the Unitarian Universalist religious community when it happens. That I'm not saying it's not properly handled all of the time. There might be a few occasions where it is, but I can assure you that based on reliable testimony from advocates for clergy misconduct victims, that the Unitarian Universalist Association has a long history of failing miserably to respond in a responsible manner to complaints about clergy misconduct, both sexual and non-sexual. They find all kinds of excuses for doing nothing and protecting the minister and demonizing and ostracizing the people who complain about clergy abuse. So, we're off to a very good start today with the well-illustrated psychological denial here of two people who attend the Unitarian Church in Montreal. So, anyhow, yeah, I love it when they do this kind of stuff because it just proves my point about the huge amounts of psychological denial and willful ignorance that Montreal Unitarians and Unitarian Universalists more generally just wallow in when the issue of clergy abuse within their religious community is brought to the fore. You know, they could be doing things other than denying the truth. They could, you know, no, they could also like try to challenge me with some facts, like prove me wrong, you know, prove that I'm slandering you, prove that I'm libeling you, and they can't. They don't dare go to a court of law accusing me of slander and libel because they know they'll lose, and they also know that a whole pile of stuff will come out in any court case. So they'll threaten me with libel lawsuits and even criminal charges, such as blasphemous libel, for instance. But they won't actually take it to court because they know that when it's in a court of law and evidence can be produced in a reasonable and rational manner, and where witnesses can be cross-examined to show problems with their testimony, that the truth will come out. So anyhow, we'll just continue to circulate here. But I really love it when I get these stunningly willfully ignorant responses from Montreal Unitarians or other Unitarians, or indeed sympathizers of the Unitarian Church. Just proves my point. So speaking of, you know, misusing criminal law to hide clergy abuse, you know, one of the ways, by no means the only way, in which Unitarian Universalists cover up and deny clergy abuse. So let's come back over here. Here's the chalk slogan, which says Unitarians cover up and deny clergy abuse, and I can assure you that's backed by abundant evidence. But here's just one one of the ways in which Unitarian Universalists cover up undenied clergy abuse on June 1st of 2012. So not, we're coming up for the 6th anniversary of the Unitarian Universalist Association hiring Stikeman Elliott barristers and solicitors litigation lawyer, Maître Marc-André Coulombe, to have me served with a quite arrogant and aggressive cease and desist demand letter, which amongst other highly questionable and indeed outright false claims, accused me of violating Canada's blasphemy law. The exact words, or very, very close to it, from the letter said the following: "Your unfounded and vicious allegations to the effect that ministers of the association engage in such despicable crimes as pedophilia and rape are defamatory." And then it went on to say that these allegedly unfounded and vicious allegations are so defamatory that they constitute the criminal act of blasphemous libel. And essentially the Unitarian Universalist Association was threatening to have me charged with violating Canada's blasphemy law, or perhaps I should say anti-blasphemy law, if I did not take down, aka delete, aka memory hole, blog posts that actually tell the readily verifiable truth about Unitarian Universalists who are actually guilty of such despicable crimes as pedophilia and rape, and have actually been charged, tried, and convicted of such despicable crimes as pedophilia and rape. So just one example of the incredibly foolish lengths that the Unitarian Universalist religious community will go to try and conceal